John, good to see you again. How are you today?
I'm great. Good to see you as well.
You and I first connected at Money 2020 last year, which is a great event. It was awesome to meet you. And then we talked about doing this, and now we're doing it. So I'm really excited to continue the conversation. For our audience, like I like to always set it up this way. Anyone that hasn't maybe gotten to know you yet, give us a little bit background, a little bit of a background on yourself, and then episode 6.
Sure. Well, I've been in the payment space for 25 years now. Originally, I was from Colorado. I grew up doing sort of odd jobs before I went to university, delivering papers, selling pennants at football games, and I really got into sales early on, and sort of have made a career out of that. But got into payments and technically in 1999, started building networks and platforms around these prepaid payment instruments, and moved into international platforms and FX and other trading until 2015 when we started episode 6. And episode 6, we've developed a globally distributed payments processing platform that's available via API, and it's configured into local schemes, local regulatory environments, and is used for credit, debit, prepaid, lending, and a variety of products and services used by some of the world's largest banks, used by travel, transit, fleet, and we're growing rapidly. So that's who we are. That's what we've done. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that intro. Uh, would love to hear your thoughts on what role does really speed to market play in shaping the future of financial services, especially in a competitive landscape.
I think that speed to market is well. First of all, the smaller companies, fintechs, have an enormous advantage when it comes to putting their products into the market at a rapid pace. And larger organizations, predominantly in our world, that would be banks and FIs, can't move at that pace, so they aren't able to put these newer types of payment instruments into the market at a speed that can keep up with the smaller guys in the fintechs. And so it's allowed for, I think speed to market allows for more rapid innovation. And it also allows for smaller companies to take market share and to grow and to thrive and provide the market what it demands now as technology changes, ways of making payments are changing, and consumers are demanding it more and more. And so speed to market, I think, is just a fundamental principle that allows for smaller companies to succeed.
As it relates to that, like, are there any key events or I guess data that you will constantly stay on top of, whether that's regulatory or just industry trends that can affect that?
We stay on top of industry trends and regulatory, but we're not a regulated entity. So we provide technology to regulated entities. We provide toolkits so that our customers can be compliant. So, with that in mind, we make sure that we're providing the right types of controls so that our clients are able to satisfy the local regulation. Our tagline is trusted by banks, delivered by experts. So if you're going to be trusted by banks, one, you have to have a platform that's resilient. It's got to be performant, but it also has to be compliant. And so, we watch what's going on in different markets, and we're in, I think, 40 countries now. And so there's just a variety of sets of regulations that our clients are beholden to, and we provide the technology that enables them to be compliant.
When you think of as it relates to one of the things I want to ask you is about embedded card issuance and payment solutions.
Yeah.
So talk me through some of the advantages that embedded card issuance and payment solutions provide to platforms and industries outside of financial services.
Well, I think the ability to access processing and issuing via API allows for almost anybody to create and embed financial services into their products and services. And so, we've seen over the last 10 years, with various open banking regulations, fintechs providing technology via API, we've seen just a rush to embed payments into everyday life cycle, everyday lifestyle, various apps, various industries beyond financial services. So, I think if you look at the world today, you see what's in the news. There are these Chinese everyday everything apps like WePay or Alipay. There's what X is talking about doing so that they can sort of do the same thing. And that's embed financial services and embed lifestyle into a singular location that's away from traditional financial services.
Let's talk a little bit about X, because you mentioned it. What are your thoughts on what they're trying to do? Not we don't have to go on to like the media side or anything like that,
Yeah.
but in terms of the payment, that was the whole reason it was named X, right? Was because that vision of wanting it to be kind of the everything. Would love to hear your thoughts.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's something that I would have expected to have happened a long time ago. So, I mean, they have how many billion users, all of them glued to their scroll, and so they've got the eyeballs, they have the resources, and so embedding financial services or payments into their app is a big idea, and I think it's going to be huge.
If it works out, what could that potentially look like then? Because it's been floated for a while. You're right. I would have thought that someone would have had this by now.
You're right.
Um,
We
I
do
think
we power similar programs.
okay.
For example, in Hong Kong, the HSBC digital bank PayMe is powered by Episode 6, and it's essentially a peer-to-peer and peer-to-merchant play, consumer wallet and merchant wallet that are sort of tied together. And it's powerful, and I think the half of Hong Kong uses that product. And so, but X has an even wider user base. So if they get it right, they can solve a lot of, they can handle cross border. Obviously, X to X. Are they going to go into digital? You always hear all these rumors. I have no idea. I just know the same thing you do, what I read. But I think it's
And
very
it kept
interesting.
pretty quiet about it too. Out of considering everything, they usually. I feel like Elon is very known for kind of putting it out there exactly everything that's happening with the bit. But this has been more of a quiet area, other than a few announcements.
Yeah, few
Absolutely
discoveries, grabbing money transmitter licenses and state by state.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's going back to and I don't mean to talk about X this for a big. It's just it was the hot topic to ask. When we go back to episode 6, obviously you've worked with a lot of people across many different countries. What are some of the, like, when you're first working with someone, what are some of the first things that you really notice, like maybe key challenges that are being faced, and how have you typically navigated those? You don't have to give away the secret sauce, but like I am curious to hear how you work on those early challenges.
well, we work with larger organizations that have multiple departments that might have to sign off on some sort of project that's related to what we provide. There are different competing agendas that we have to navigate, and so understanding how an organization works and understanding what it takes to get to conclusion and then being able to sort of steer through all of that is not easy. And for smaller companies, it's a challenge that is extremely difficult to overcome. And then you tack onto that doing this across different business cultures: Tokyo, Singapore, London, New York, and it becomes even more challenging. But we've mastered it, and so we're able to do deals with we're two of the top 10 banks in the world are using our platform, and that's not an easy thing to accomplish with a smaller company. But we have, and we figured it out, and because of that, we're growing rapidly. That to me is the biggest challenge: is how you're going to get into market, and you can't get into market. You might be able to sign a contract, but you also have to deliver and go into production.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons I really like your space. The barriers to entry, like, in order for someone to do what you're doing, good luck. Like, there's a lot of legwork.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Good luck, because it's not easy, and that's why I think you haven't seen the innovation in our corner of payments until recently, and so we feel like we have a head start because of that. It's ripe for innovation. Most of the systems that do what we do are written at COBOL. There's a lot of mainframe. It's just none of that can really keep up with where the world's going. So it needs to be either modified or replaced, and replacing it costs too much and takes too long.
So continuing on that, like, what does modernization look like for financial institutions in today's just rapidly expanding market?
Yeah, Well, I think there are phases to all of this because I think this is a many-year project for most FIs. And I think we saw this whole idea about rip out the core and replace it. And there's a realization that CIOs aren't interested in that, number one. And number two, it will take 10 years and $100 million. So it's just not feasible. And then, I think what we're seeing now is this progressive modernization, containing the core, and so that the core does what it needs to do, which is to ultimately hold the physical values. And then we provide a system or a sidecar, whatever you want to call it, that can subledger, can provide virtual accounts. And then on top of that, you can add in all of the digital payment methods, whether they're commercial or consumer. So very quickly, a large bank, can start to compete with the new wave of competitors that have been taking some market share, and they can do it on their own terms in a time scale that keeps up with market expectations, doesn't require massive changes at the bank, which is very hard for a company like ours to convince a large FI to do that. It's probably impossible. And so then once you're in there, CIOs, CTOs, marketing folks, payment folks are realizing that they can add on and do more and more and more. So over time, systems are modernized, processes are made more efficient, and maintenance and support costs drop dramatically.
What, what continues to keep you going and loving what you're doing? And is it the same thing from when you started versus now?
To be honest, when we started selling and we had 3 people and we had an enterprise class system, it wasn't easy. It was hard. What kept me going is, I wanted to win, and we knew we had a great system, and I wanted to see it used. What excites me, we set our global sales kickoff, so we brought people in from all over the world here to Austin, Texas, and it was just extremely, extremely motivating. We have a great team. The prospect list is huge, and you can go to Italy or Spain or Germany or Hong Kong or Singapore or Vietnam or Indonesia, and you're going to run into something that's powered by episode 6. And that to me is something that makes me very proud. It makes my co-founders very proud. And what keeps me going is we haven't even scratched the surface. So, and we're getting better every day. So, we're quietly optimistic. We don't kind of have the marketing push of some of the others out there, but we're making headway. And 2025 is going to be huge. So we're very excited. And that keeps me going.
I'm going to do something kind of new with you, a little lightning round of sorts.
Sure.
You can say pass too, which is totally fine. There's no like hard questions in here, but we'll start out with this. A book or a course you highly recommend for people.
I highly recommend Digital Assets for Dummies. So
Okay.
most people don't understand them, don't understand what it
Those
is.
4 Dummies books are also, very very detailed for these early I've learned a lot from having those like from different areas.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for folks to make regulations and laws around things they don't.
We need the episode 6 for Dummies collaboration. I've seen them do that in the past. It's nice.
That's a good idea.
If they're listening.
Yes.
How do you like to start your day?
I like to start my day by working out, and I walk to work, which, by the way, is transformative versus being in a car, going through traffic, stop and go. I think that just sort of creates some stress that might be it might be subconscious, but it just starts the day differently than walking to work. I enjoy my Americano, and then I get into my emails and I get rolling. I start early. We have a big operation in Europe, and because of time zones, I want to get ahead of it. And then I go late because that's the best time for me to work with our teams in Asia.
When hiring, what's one trait that is non-negotiable?
Self-starter. We want self-starters.
I like that.
Yeah, there's a couple others, so I'm going to give you 3: problem solver and judgment. Good judgment.
Those 3. When you're learning something new, how do you like to learn?
I like to immerse myself with subject matter experts, and I just ask questions until I get it. Some are remedial, some might be above me, but I learn by jumping in and asking questions. And it might take some time for me to grasp a subject, but as soon as I have it, I have it. And then I can articulate, I can understand, I can explain conceptually how things work. One of the folks that I admire is Michael Lewis, because he's able to take these complex scenarios and distill them into phrases and in paragraphs and words that the layman can understand. And so I want to be able to do that. So I want to understand complex areas, and I didn't base my career around software and technology, so I had to learn all of this. And I'm not a developer, but I can speak to it, and that's because I've sat with developers and I've sat with our CTO and I've asked the questions, and so I know how our platform works inside and out, and it enables me to sell it and talk about it. And so that's one example.
Love it. Last question for you. It doesn't have to be someone trying to compete, but one piece of advice for any new fintech founders just starting to, start that first company.
I'd say make sure you have a path to being capitalized, whether you're self-funded like we were, or you have some sort of inroads into some sort of financing, but you need to do it in a way where you don't give away your company. And I think a lot of younger folks probably make these types of mistakes, and then when they need to raise more, they end up losing control. You need to persevere. There are experts everywhere around your business that will give you advice, and these experts don't really have any expertise around what you're doing quite often. So I would say you need to be passionate about what you're doing. You need to jump in. You need to go for it. You need to make it happen. So going back to being a self-starter, having good judgment, some of that comes with experience, and you need to be able to be a problem solver, because it's not easy. And it's actually extraordinarily hard, or everybody would do it.
I learned early on to stop taking advice from people that aren't where you want to be or aren't doing something that you want to do.
Right.
That was the early advisors that a lot of startups bring on, right? Aren't necessarily the ones that maybe some can be good, but some give it, yeah.
Our first clients were HSBC and Japan Airlines. So how do we do that? Because nobody would have thought we could have done that. We had 4 people, then we had 17,
But if you ask an advisor if you could get them, they'd say you have no shot. More than likely.
Well, yeah, it's almost unheard of for a Western company to be able to do that in Japan.
Do you go there much or not?
I do. I go there a couple times a year. I used to go there quite a bit when we were integrating into the local networks.
And I've never been. How is it? Is it a interesting place?
Tokyo is probably my favorite city. It's phenomenal. Our office is in Shibuya, which is right over the scramble, that crosswalk that you see on all of the advertisements. We have 25 people in Tokyo. We present ourselves as a Japanese company, and we're doing business with the largest bank, the largest airline, largest provider of voucher gift cards, the largest travel agency. And so we're the first cloud-based system of what we do that's been used in Japan. But the culture is fantastic. The business culture is challenging. There's been a lot written about it. It's very hard for non-Japanese, but we figured it out and we got it done with brute force. And a lot of our competitors have tried and pulled out. Large names have pulled out of Japan. They just couldn't get it done.
Kudos to you and your team. That's really interesting.
Very much.
John, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really enjoyed, briefly chatting with you at Money 2020. I'm glad we were able to do this, and look forward to continuing the conversation in the future.
Thanks, Jared. Talk to you soon.